So record. Alrighty. Oh, here we go. Here's Brenna. Okay, so you guys obviously all know who I am, so I don't need to do that part. Just need to keep my eye on that. Sorry, give me 2 seconds. All right, I can see it from there. Okay, so this is the exciting level where we are gunning for the white Mercedes. I don't know how compliant I'm going to be, but this is only going to be staying up for a couple of days, isn't it? Gunning for that VP life. Let me just tell you, let me change the gallery here. It is worth it. Like this, the VP level is a bloody amazing, epic level. Absolutely love it. And it is worth fighting for, guys, and it is worth gunning for. It is worth every little bit of blood, sweat and tears you are going to go through to get there. Not that it has to be like that, but sometimes it can be. So it took me just over 3 years from my start date to actually become a VP. My first 6 months in the business, I was a bit of an undercover consultant, which might surprise some of you newer people because I'm so loud and proud now, but I wasn't at the start. So my first 6 months, I was kind of like this. I had a lot of worried about what people would think of me, all that kind of stuff going on. So I didn't really put my foot down until sort of 6 months in. And you know, I still feel, even though it took me 3 years, I still felt like that took me forever to get to VP level. And I'm sure some of you can probably relate when it just feels like, oh my God, like this is just why is it taking so long? But some of you might be on here, you might be fresh AMs who are, you know, just looking to be bonusing. But hopefully either way, some of the stuff that I share with you, you know, will help you, or you might hear something that makes you go, oh, okay, yep, you know, like who knows? That's the goal really, is just to try and help you, you know, with anything that you could be going, you know, dealing with at the moment. So for those that don't know my story, I'm going to give you the brief version. And I'm going to give you the real version, the raw version, sort of, but not without too much detail. But basically, I was I was in corporate as a settlement agent, and I was a business development manager before I had kids. My beautiful girls. So my girls are 22 months apart, and I became a single mum and sole provider for the girls when I had a 5-month-old and a 2-year-old. So they were still really, really young. And I found myself in a pretty undesirable situation, to be perfectly honest. Sorry, I just had to let someone in. So my now ex, he had started using meth, and without my knowledge, he had spent most of the money I had saved from a sale of a unit that I had in Mount Lawley. So I was left in a pretty shit spot. I was exhausted at the time from sleepless nights with a two-year-old and a 5-month-old. I'd been in my own world, and I don't even know how I didn't realize, but I didn't. And I had no idea what had been happening right under my nose. And he hid it well until he couldn't really hide it anymore. So cue 2 years of hell. I kicked him out. It didn't go well. There were restraining orders. He went to jail. Like, it was a pretty shit time. And I was 100% on my own and pretty stressed out. I went back to work 3 days a week in the city, put the girls in daycare, and I freaking hated it. Like, it was just, I was like, nah. So, you know, it was one of those moments where I was like, wow, how is this my life? I became qualified as a personal trainer to start my own business so that I could work around the girls, and it did take off. But I quickly realized I wasn't going to get in front by trading time for money, and PT work is, you know, evenings and early mornings. So it just wasn't quite right. Before I carry on, I do feel like I need to say that the girl's dad isn't a bad person, because I paint a pretty bad picture. He's just an addict. So, you know, he's in their lives, and it's a constant roller coaster as to, you know, us dealing with it. But, you know, everyone has things that they have to deal with in life. I'm sure you all have certain things you have to deal with. And just know it is possible to grow a kick-ass epic business even when you have other things going on behind the scene, okay? If you make your business a priority and keep your focus, it can be done. I'm very good. One thing I will say I'm very good at is I'm very good at separating my business from my personal life. Okay. It's a really handy skill to have, guys. I could be going through like hell. And, you know, if I have a Zoom or a workshop, I don't crumble. I go and I put my makeup on and I turn up and I do my thing, and then I come home and I sort my life out, you know, if there's shit going on in the background. And it's not always like that, but sometimes it is. I manage it, and I just think it's really important to be able to separate business, because it is a business, and that's just something that I can do well. So don't worry, I will pick the tempo up. It's going to be a happy ending. Don't worry, I promise. So, you know, now that you know my story, I'll share my timeline. I actually went into RVP Qual a year before I came out. So I don't know if you all know that. In October 2018, I first went into RVP Qual, but my business was not ready. I had to push to get into Qual, which isn't a good sign. So there was a deal on, and I was, you know, got lots of good clients, and I pushed and I managed to hit my 40. But if you push to go into Qual, there's really not anything to come out with. Okay, so I'd already pushed. Coming out the other side was not going to happen. It was the same month that Andrea and Gemma also went into qual, and I think from memory that Andrea came out the following month in the November, and then December is when Gemma came out, and that's when Danielle went nation. I dropped back to doing like 20 odd thousand because that's where my business was. So it just wasn't my time. Given that we all went into qual at the same time, I really had to check my ego when I was the only one that didn't come out. I can honestly say that while I would have loved to have become a VP then, like who wouldn't, it didn't take away from the fact that I was really happy for the other girls. And if you find yourself in a situation like that, you really do need to check your ego, because it can take you out of the game mentally if you start listening to it. Everyone has their journey and no two journeys are identical. The following year when we went into qual, we were more than ready and we flew through completion November 2019, like 4 days early, and yeah, we absolutely flew past. And at that time, it wasn't stressful. I had a rocking team. Everyone was going for their own goals. When it happens like that, it is just like magic. Like I felt like I wasn't even really trying. Like it was, you know, like I was working my business, but we just flew through, and it was just so amazing. It really was. I just remember when it ticked over and I was like, oh my God, like that's happened. And I still got people trying to come out as areas, and it was just, yeah, it's incredible. So what was different, apart from my business, obviously, but for me, it was the personal development. I already had a kick-ass work ethic. I'm disciplined. I lead from the front. I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. Don't you worry. So those areas for me, they didn't need work. I needed to work on me. I am such a hard worker, and I didn't think PD was worth my time initially. I just thought I'd rather be booking in activity than sitting there doing bloody affirmations. You know, that's who I am. I'm a worker. I'm like, never mind that. I'll book some more workshops, you know. But the thing is, like, I was so wrong, because, you know, like that first month I went into qual, the following month I booked 10 personal workshops to come out. But I still didn't come out because I just wasn't doing the work on me. I wasn't in alignment, and it didn't work. So you can, you know, it doesn't matter how much activity you are in. If you haven't done the work on yourself, you're not going to get the right results. It just doesn't work. I don't know how it all works. It's all that woo woo, but it's true. So, you know, I wasn't working with the universe. I was out of alignment. Yeah. And I didn't have the self-belief, and that is massive. So I ask you guys to take a look at yourself and your business and find your gap, because that's what you need to do, is you need to find your gap. Okay. So do you have some sort of miracle morning routine that you stick to at least 5 times a week? Do you practice gratitude, affirmations, and visualization? Or maybe that's your strength, and your gap is doing personal activity, leading from the front, and booking workshops. Do you show up to everything? Do you sponsor? Do you consistently do your asks? You just need to find your gap and focus on that. Quite often it's the thing that we don't want to do that is going to get you where you want to go, which is why I tell people to get uncomfortable, because that is where the growth is. And I did like a find the gap training with my team, because, you know, there's like all these little bits that make up Arbonne, and you need to find which ones you're missing. Okay. And even if you don't think they're important, but if people are still telling you to do them, just do them anyway, you know, and that may be your little gap, your little thing that you're missing. So for me personally, I had such low self-esteem and low feelings of self-worth, which might surprise people, because I come across as a very confident person. You know, always showing up happy and smiling and life of the party. That's my personality. And to be honest, I didn't feel sad. I wasn't like but deep down, I didn't think I was actually worthy of being a VP. I felt like if I got there, someone would dredge up something from my past and be all like, you can't be a VP, which is total bullshit. And it's 100% the stories in your head. I've been doing a lot of work, and I know Abby's doing this with the Academy of Manifestation. And it is so clear to me now to see how little self-worth I had. I suffered from anorexia when I was 17. I then moved on to drug abuse. These things are both a sign of a lack of self-love. My choice in partners was terrible, and a clear sign that I had poor self-esteem. And I honestly wish I could go back to that girl now and just tell her that she is enough. And this is the kind of stuff we do in that thing. Because I look back and I'm like, oh my God, if my daughter's ever, you know, but what can you do? You live what you live through. And, you know, there's reasons that I was the way that I was, and I'm, you know, working on it. But just know that if you've got skeletons in your closet, or things you're ashamed of, or things that or if you don't think that you're good enough to be a VP, think again. Because you honestly do. Like, you are here. You are already area managers. You're doing it. You're actually doing it. Like, the next elevation is RVP. Nothing changes. We just keep doing what you're doing, and more of it, and finding the right people. So you're already doing it. You know, you've made it this far. Your mind can play tricks on you, and Arbonne isn't simple, but it is, Arbonne is simple, but it isn't always easy. You need to have a strong mind to make it, which is why we harp on about personal development so much, because a lot of it is a mental game. Everyone usually has a story. I'm sure you all have a story. Just don't let it define you. Do the work on yourself so you can handle anything that comes your way. The past is the past, but you get to create your future. So, it's up to us, guys. A couple of tips that I have: don't make this bigger in your head than it needs to be, which can be easier said than done, but it is just the next elevation. And it is a super exciting one. But again, it's just doing what you have already done again and again and again. So we sponsor and we promote, and we sponsor and we promote, and we sponsor and we promote until we find our leaders. And when the leaders come, you will know. They generally take up the least amount of your time and just get it done when they join your business. When Britt joined my team, obviously I had to teach her workshops and how to put orders through. She was away. She honestly, it's just, that's what happens when you get a leader that joins your team. They're incredible. Now, the next one is work within your team. Now, I don't recommend this all the time because, as I've said above, we want to be creating leaders, and it is really important to be creating leaders. You don't want to be so stuck within your business that you can't step away, because that is not the idea. That is not the idea of what we are doing. But if you are elevating, you want to work within your team. If, like I was saying, if you micromanage everything, you don't allow your team to grow. But, there is a time, and it is when you're elevating, that if you've got someone in your team that isn't a strong leader, you can go to, if they've got a workshop on, or they've got something, some form of activity happening and you are free, you can go to that, because you are going to be the one that can help with sales. You are going to be the one with the big vision. You are going to be the one that might be able to sponsor or find the ace in the room. They might not be there yet, or they might, if you've got the time, or if you've got the time, but if you don't have something booked, my advice would be to go along, because that's where you can pluck people, and you might build rapport with someone that your person might not. If you've got a district manager that's, doing workshops okay on their own, but, you think, okay, she's got something on Sunday, I'm free, I'm just going to go, and, they might not be sharing that big vision, or they might not be building that rapport. It might be a younger person, and you might connect with a mum there, or it could be the other way. You could be a younger person and, connect, and the mum's hosting the workshop, you just don't know. So for me, especially when elevating, I would highly recommend just getting in there, like getting into everything that you can, and, plucking out what you can from that. But as I said, not all the time. Don't work in your business all the time. Which leads me to my next point. You may find yourself out of balance for a short while when you elevate. You may find yourself extra busy. It's not maintainable. But when you are elevating, you really need to give it everything that you have. And it really does depend on what your business looks like. The second time I went into qual, it wasn't crazy when I completed. And I always hear people say about when you elevate and the kids are eating, takeaway every night, and no one does any washing and all of this kind of stuff. And I'm like, God, they make it sound awful. Like, it sounds like maybe people don't want to elevate because you're thinking, shit, like my life for the next 2 months is going to be terrible. I can tell you that second time I was good. I was cooking, like everything was ticking along as normal, and I might have had a few extra events on or whatever, but yeah, it wasn't. So don't also like have that resistance and thinking, oh God, because I hear it all the time, and I think it paints such an awful picture. And yes, you may go out of balance for a while, 100%. It isn't forever, but it doesn't even have to be like that. If you've got lots of people in your team gunning for goals, they're gunning for goals, like all it is if you've got 3 or 4 people looking to become area managers, you've got yourself a region. That's all it is. So, if you've only got like 1 or 2, yes, then you might be picking up that extra, which means you're going to be super, super busy. But if you manage to sponsor and you've got a couple of people going for area, or you already might have 1 or 2, and then you have some others going for it, it doesn't need to be madness. It's just people going for their own goals, and you as a byproduct elevate. Literally, it is like, that was the first time I remember, because I did have 3 or 4 areas, and I was like, damn, like this is pretty cool. Like, they're going for their goals, and, I'm just the byproduct of that. In the past, I always worked my business. I was the one pulling and pushing, and you know what I mean, like just all the time. And that was the first time I was like, wow, that is just awesome, you know. And it just really showed me the power of what we have here. It was pretty cool. Like, that's exciting. So now I just need to find 4 regions and I'm good. And I'm a nation. Woo! No. So sponsor and promote. Consistency with your PD. Find what works for you. Don't make it too big. If you're not doing it, maybe what you set yourself is too big, and you get flustered and you can't maintain it. So just find what is, maintainable for you, whether it be a minute of everything a day to start with, whether it's 5 minutes or 4 minutes or whatever. You don't have to be doing an hour a day. If you're not getting it done, obviously that's not working for you. It is better to do 20 minutes or half an hour, whatever you can get in, rather than trying to overcommit and then too hard. So just really, really be honest about what works for you. Practice gratitude. It is so important to be thankful for what you have, and that is when you attract more abundance into your life. So even when things aren't going your way, focus on the good. At the very least, we can be grateful we have fresh air to breathe, food on the table, all the basics. But I'm guessing most of us on this call have got so much more than that to be grateful for. And like, I know for me, I've had some pretty shit experiences in my time. I can go back to those and look at where I am now, and I think, you know what, no matter what, I have to be so grateful. Yes, I wanted to go Nation this year. No, it's not going to happen, but I'm not going to throw my toys. Like, it's just not happening. Like, oh my God, I live an amazing life. Like, it's, you just got to practice your gratitude. But, it can be frustrating when you want to elevate. Trust me, I was so frustrated. Like, Danny even turned around to me one time and goes, can you just hurry up and go region? I was like, I'm trying, but, it can be so, so frustrating. And you're thinking, why isn't it happening for me? What am I doing wrong? Grumble. I used to constantly say to Danny, like, coach me. What am I doing wrong? Like, I'm open to it. Like, hit me. So I tell me, she's like, you're doing everything that you need to be doing. It's just, it's coming. And I was like, no, tell me, what am I doing bad? She's like, just stick with it. Just stay with it. And that's all it is. It's just sticking with it. When you're feeling that way, you need to change your state, because, you're not bringing in abundance when you're feeling like that. And I was kind of stuck there for a little while. But, once I started all my PD and everything and I got into it, I used to walk the dog, and in my head, I'd be like, saying my mantra, I'm a regional vice president, and I'd do my affirmations, breathe in the fresh air, and just like really just feel it, and just be like feeling amazing. Sometimes I'd like look around and make sure there's no bike riders, and I'd start saying them out loud, but you got to be careful because you could get committed. If people, riding past and you're like, I'm a regional vice president, and they're like, oh my God, that crazy woman. But it is like, it just, there's something about getting into that state that really, really helps. And another time that I would do it is when I'm at the gym. But again, do that in your head, because if you do that out loud, again, people are going to think you are like the crazy blonde lady. But, like if I'm in a class, so like, and I get in the zone, because that's when you've got all those feel good endorphins running around as well. I freaking love that. And sometimes I catch myself and my brain's just, you're just off thinking about whatever. And then I'm like, oh, national vice president. Okay, let's go, and I get myself and I start doing my affirmations, and it makes the exercises go quickly too. But attaching the emotion to it is absolutely the key to bringing it into reality. And we're kind of going into the manifesting there a little bit. But yeah, attaching the emotion to it is so, so key. Right. Know that it is done. This is especially important when you are closing out qual, and it will get there. So don't, you'll get there, guys. But, sometimes you don't have to have all of the answers. Just as long as you're working your business and you're working on yourself, have faith, and have belief. So whatever you want to call it, but you remove doubt and fear, and just be so sure that it's done. Sometimes you can't add up the QV everyone's going to give you. I had like a lady join my business randomly. She bought like a full kit. She never did anything, but she contacted me out of the blue and spent like $1,500. I don't even think she launched in the end, but like, it was when I was closing out qual. Like, just crazy shit like that can happen when you're in the right state. You can just attract anything, because I was like, okay, like, yeah, sure, you can do R1. Like, it was just, yeah. So you just don't, that's the beauty of this business. You do not know what tomorrow could bring. You might have something like that. You just don't know. You don't know who you're going to meet tomorrow. Like, it's just, that is the absolute beauty of it. So I will leave you by saying, don't ever, ever, ever give up on yourself. That is the only way we lose, is by stopping. the only way, even if it, yeah, anyway, I'm going ahead. Sorry. I get so like, but like VP is beyond so achievable. Like it honestly is so, so achievable for each and every one of you. And it really is such an amazing level of this business, and your timeline doesn't matter. If you do it in 1 year, you show people that it's possible. If you do it in 10 years, you still show people that it's possible. And all the people that are struggling to elevate, they go, well, she just did it and it took her 10 years, or she just took it and it took her 8 years. I actually love that. I wasn't super fast, you know, and like, I love all the guns that come through and show what's possible, but I love it when someone, we had, when Angie Passerato, a VP that elevated, and she'd been in the business for like 5 years since she got to RVP. And I was like, that is awesome. That is so good, because there's so many people that are going, if I haven't done it in 1 or 2 years, it's probably not going to happen, you know? And then you get someone like that does it in 5, and I'm like, yes, that is showing. Like, don't give up, just stay with it and it will come, you know? So I love that. I've always said, whether it takes me 5 years or 10 years, preferably not 10, but whether it takes me 5 years or 10 years, I will be an MVP, which is why I know it will happen. Like, I will go down fighting, like I will be an MVP. Like, again, like nothing is going to change that. The timeline is the only thing, you know, that I don't have control of, but absolutely, I've always known it will happen. So do you have that same commitment? Because, you know, you already know what to do. Nothing changes, but your challenges along the way turn you into greater leaders. And that is so important, guys. Every stumble that you take on this journey helps you coach someone else through the exact same thing. That is so, so important. You just keep doing what you are doing, and if possible, you can do even more. Just commit to gunning for VP. Get super disciplined. Hone in on your personal development. Get clear on exactly what you want, and just bloody gun for it. Like, every day in this business can bring you a miracle. And I love how much hope you can have through this business, because, you know, you might have a shit day, you wake up the next day, boom, you get to start again. Clean slate, one text message, one phone call, and everything can change. You know, your business can change in an instant. You know, you just have to remember that. You just don't know who is going to join your team tomorrow. So just keep at it. It will happen. And I'm cheering you all on, because we are going to have the biggest tribe of white Mercedes, epic VPs. Just, yeah, it's going to be absolutely amazing. And I know that, I know that you guys can do it. I absolutely know that each and every one of you is going to be a VP. It's going to be, yeah, bloody awesome. So I've got a little bit of, that's pretty much it for me, guys. Hopefully that, yeah, was okay. I've got some homework for you, nothing too hectic. All it is I want you guys to take some of the negative stories or beliefs that you have around yourself and turn it into a positive affirmation, and then send it to me or send it to your upline. So I've got an example. An example is, I can't get anyone to join my team, you know, like, oh my God, I just can't sponsor. Oh my God. Or you're talking to your friend or your sister line or your upline. You're like, oh my God, like, I just know, everyone keeps saying no. I just, no one wants to join me. And we've all said it. We've all done it. So that turns into a positive affirmation of, I am attracting incredible people to my business and to my life. I am open and ready to receive the next ace in my business. All right. So that's, you're flipping it around. So you've gone from telling that you can't, you know, putting out that negative energy of not being able to sponsor, and doing a positive affirmation about how you are attracting people to yourself and to your business, and that you're open and ready to receive your next ace. You know, I'm the queen of sponsoring and promoting, you know, like anything like that. Another one could be, I'm terrible at online parties. Like, no one buys anything. They're awful. Like, I love my in-person ones, and I was a bit shit for this because I wasn't terrible at them, but I just found I got a lot more QV in person. But then that became a story I was telling myself, you know, and I'm like, well, you're obviously not going to do very well, are you? You know, like, and awareness is key in all of this stuff, guys. So you're not going to be perfect. You're going to do things, but being able to catch yourself and go, oh, actually, I've literally just, you know, put it out there. So I'm terrible at online parties becomes, I'm a confident and magnetic host of online parties. Everybody wants to host for me. I get a minimum of 500 QV sales at each online event that I host. Yep. And you put that into your affirmations. You turn it around and you keep booking online parties, because, yeah, we just want to switch absolutely any stories or any beliefs that you have, negative beliefs, and switch them into a positive and make it something that you're, yeah, going to change your story, because this just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. And each negative thought, we've got to combat it with the positive thought and your self-awareness. So just if you've got any particular beliefs that maybe, I don't know, you could, if your business is struggling or you're not hitting your bonus or you never sponsor or you never, you know, that's what you want to turn around, those deep-seated ones, because they'll just go on replay without you even thinking about it. We're going to switch that around. So you've got your positives, and your brain is a muscle, like your muscles, and you have to work it. You know, it's like even this work that I'm doing at the Academy of Manifestation, like it's work. Like you have to commit to it. You have to do the time and the effort, but you get better. You get better at catching yourself. You're never going to be perfect. You're always going to have these thoughts and feelings, but you get better at catching yourself. You get better at turning it around. You get better at loving yourself. You get better at going, you know what, I'm not perfect, but I'm me and I'm good. You know, like just getting comfortable in your own skin with who you are. You know, you're giving your business your best. You're doing what you can. You're going to be a VP. Everything works out for you. All of these positive self-talk, and you just, you know, when you catch yourself in the kitchen or walking the dog, and yeah, just get it done. So anyway, that's pretty much it from me. Does anyone have any questions at all? You're sick to death of hearing me talk?
I've got a question, Sarah.
Yeah.
When you do your affirmations, like, so say what you're just saying then about turning that negative talk into a positive.
Yeah.
Do you write those same ones down every morning, or do you just kind of, that's what you use when you do catch yourself in that negative self-talk, you just can quickly turn it around, or do you do a bit of both?
I've got a few that are like regulars for me, because they're ones that I need to keep repeating, but then it just depends on my day and how I'm feeling that day, whether I've got other stuff I want to let go of, or, you know, whatever's going on in my life, or but there's a few that I always do, that I'm attracting the right people to my business, and I'm ready to receive. And I always put that I'd sponsor and promote. That to me is just like, yeah, I am worthy. I am enough. Those, because of my self-esteem in the past, like I always just work on those so that I just remember, you know, like I don't care what people think, you know, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, just all that positive stuff. But then yeah, whatever's going on in your life, I could, like when I sit here and I start writing at the start, sometimes you're like, oh yeah, and then like 3 minutes later, you're like, oh yeah, oh yeah, and that one, and it just all starts coming out. You just get like, and then you're like, oh, hang on a minute, and what about relationships? Oh, and what about money? Oh, yep, I love money. Money loves me. And I just, you know, like you just start going all these different areas of your life, and you're like, woo. So yeah, I just go with sort of how I feel on the day. But honestly, by the time I finish my miracle morning, I'm pumped. Like I am like, you know, you start off a bit like, oh yeah. And then you walk out going, yep, all right, cool. I know what I'm doing. You know, like you just feel so good. Yeah. Has anyone else got questions? All good? Beautiful. All right. Well,
it's not really a question.
Yeah. No, go, Brenna.
So I've been waking up to do the miracle morning, and it's so bloody early. I actually find it a little tricky to think of what I'm grateful for. Okay. I don't know if it's because my brain isn't working that early, but I find at the end of the day, it's so much easier to write down, oh, I'm grateful for this and that.
Yeah.
So what are some kind of like prompting things that you can be like, oh, hang on, do you just think of the day prior, or?
Well, you can, or you can just do real basic ones, like you've got a happy, healthy family. Yeah, like just your health is like one of the biggest things I could be grateful for, because if you don't have your health, so you could just start real basic if you want, and maybe you might find that you just want to do real basic ones like your health, you know, your family, your house, like, you know, all the basics. And then in the evening, you might be able to pick out some things from your day that, you know, were the best parts of your day. I mean, I do that with my kids, like what was the best part of your day, you know, all that kind of stuff. So that might be better for you. Yeah. If you're sitting there going, I'm not being grateful for anything.
I'm grateful for being the